Hey everyone, welcome to the Overseas Famous Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Owens. Dude, when I tell you there's like sometimes when I get really excited to do the podcast, a lot of times when I do it, I'm talking with people who I met pretty much like 20 minutes before the actual podcast starts. So it's like new people, and I'm just trying to explore and find out about other things. This time, I'm doing it with like one of a person I consider a brother. Played together in New Zealand, played against each other in Australia, played against each other in the NCAA tournament. Nick Horvath, Duke University, played overseas for a long time, and now the author of an incredible book, Sledge. We are going to talk about all of that today. Nick, thank you so much for joining us.
Dude, it's so cool to be here, man. Just like you said, there's certain people in the world where the moment you meet them, you just instant boys. And that was just that's been us from way back, man. It feels like, we grew up together.
I know it's crazy because our stories are so parallel, but like when you meet that person, you're like, man, we're so similar. Like we just grew up in different places, but our basketball journey kind of brought us to the same place. It's amazing because I remember hanging out with you in the All-Star game in Australia and being like, dude, he was cool as shit. Like it was like me, you, I remember Reese, we just had a good group, Casey. There was just like a fun group of guys. I'm like, this is just a cool time. So Nick and I go way back. It's so cool seeing you take this journey from basketball to like authoring, which is something that you and I talked about when we were playing together. We talked about wanting to write, and we ended up doing it. So like it's great to see your all of this. But did you ever picture yourself? Because like when we first did this, like we said, we were kind of talked about this. What was like that first time where you're like, I want to get into the literary world when I'm done basketball, or even still in basketball? Like, what was that time? Do you remember a time when you were just like, I want to write a book? Like, that's just how
Yeah,
simple.
well, it was always a dream of mine, but I don't know if this was like you. Like I had a mental uh block in the or just like a lack of self-belief. I was a basketball player, right? Whatever, or like, I'm a physics teacher. I wasn't an author, but I always wanted to be. And it was always sort of this thing where I was like, well, I can't do that. I didn't go to, Iowa Writers Workshop or this or that or the other. And then finally, I don't know, got to a stage where I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I can do this. I've been writing my whole life. And I took about 3 years and just like pounded out my first novel, which was me learning how to write. So that's unpublished. That'll probably maybe come out later as Sledge versus the Dead Girl. But that was sort of me, in the basement, like working on my game, figuring out what the hell I was doing. And then once I'd written that one and it had a beginning, middle, and end, I cleaned it up, gave it to some like, that was the one like, my dad read it and my close friends read it. But I didn't come out with it, and I was like, okay, I can do this. And then by the time that process allowed me to be able to write Sledge versus the Labyrinth, which in my mind is like, I'm just so proud of it, dude. It just came out so badass and clean, like exactly what I wanted to have come out, and it's just been freaking mint.
You're so right. The book, and I remember texting you when I was reading it and just being like, dude, there's so many great pop culture references in this, which we both are the same age, grew up in that same era. So like we get those 80s and 90s. So like hearing those pop culture references in this character, it was amazing. And I loved that aspect of it. I love like first, I mean, if there's you're rocking the overseas famous, I got my Norwegian, we're both paying tribute, although crazy story, Nick. And I don't think I've ever like I didn't know this. So, and I don't even think of like our listeners know this. So you guys are gonna get an exclusive. So fun fact about me is my dad, like a lot of people know me because they say, oh, your grandfather was the GM of the Phillies. That's how like a lot of people are like associate with me. You played basketball, your grandfather's, but like the crazy thing is my grandfather is not my uh blood grandfather. My dad was adopted. He lost his family in a fire early in his life. He went to an orphanage, lived in an orphanage for a little bit. Him and my uncle, who's his actual brother, both got adopted by my grandfather, who was the Pope. Paul Owens. So like it's a different story. So we didn't know where the fuck I came from. Like I had no idea. We were hearing like seven different cultures that we came from. So my dad finally did this. Like when I retired, he went to the whole ancestry and then he went into like other things and he found out that we're like his family is like 100% Norwegian. Like his mom and dad
Oh, cool.
emigrated from Norway. And it's like, wow, that's like crazy that so
Viking blood.
we have that Viking blood. So that's a fun little thing. So I'm like trying to embrace my Norwegian side as well because I'm like, the height had to come from somewhere. It didn't come
Had
from,
to, man. Have you
yeah,
tried lutefisk yet?
no. What is that?
Dude, you gotta try this. So this is the all-time. Well, there's two badass Viking stories. Well, you know how Vikings always say skull before they
Yes.
drink. That comes from when they used to defeat another Viking kingdom. How they would celebrate is drinking from the skull of their conquered king.
Ah, I like
Oh,
that.
so they took the
That's
skull. So that's pretty
it.
badass. But lutefisk is even gnarlier. So when the Vikings were raiding and raping and pillaging and just, stalking through lands, when people would hear that they were coming, they would just get the fuck out. So they would abandon their towns and then they would raise their crops. So they were trying to starve the Vikings out.
Oh,
So
yeah.
they dig these trenches and all of their fish and their stuff that would go off, they just poured it into this trench and then soaked it in lye to ruin it, to destroy the food. Lye is like what they could use as like
Yeah.
basically like soap. It's like burning, it's like bleach. And then the Vikings rolled in like a month later with this fish that's been soaked in lye, then like scooped it out and were like, pretty good. And that's what lutefisk is. So it's like the Norwegian, I don't know, it's like the classic Norwegian dish. You should look it up. It's like gelatinous fish jello that's
Oh,
rotting, smells like death. But it's a
but it
rite of
keep.
passage. You gotta
I
get
was
on
gonna
some.
say there's
You
like
gotta get
there's
on some. Your beard will grow and actually
yeah.
kicks in
I
you.
need that's what I need. I need that like little introduction into the society. So like that would be good. I know
That one.
people
Get in the
people
sauna.
yeah, like the cold people are like, oh, you need to like do a cold plunge or something like that.
Yeah.
Like something, just to embrace my heritage. But back to the book, like I bet that like overseas basketball, you talked about how some of those characters, some of those names are in there. How did overseas shape you as a person and a writer? Like, I bet there's stories that even
Oh,
I haven't
huge,
heard.
man.
Like,
I mean, you know what it's like.
oh
Everywhere
yeah,
you go and everywhere you play, uh, you meet a whole cast of characters. And like when you're a pro athlete, each league is its own sort of universe, its own sort of microcosm, and it's got like its alpha dogs. And I always think of basketball as like a Avengers team, right? You got your
yeah,
point guards who are like your Captain Americas, you got your sharpshooters who are like your Hawkeyes, you got your rebounders like we were like the Hulks, right? And we
yeah,
got all the different kind of characters in there. So like all the characters in the Sledge verse are that. They're all underworld badasses. But of course I've picked a lot of them, or there are a lot of them are based on people that we know. So Sledge is an amalgamation of a heap of former teammates in terms of his physical attributes. Like, I don't know if you remember the GOAT, Pero
oh
Cameron.
yeah. I remember Paro.
So for those people that don't know, Pero is the greatest New Zealand basketball player of all time. He's a 6'4" center, but people just didn't understand what strength was until you got on a court with Pero. And it wasn't
hmm
like, oh wow, this guy must work out a lot. It was all of the strength was from here to here in his hand. He
hmm
could grab you by your hip, like with one hand up close, and you physically couldn't move. He could fully control your like 250-pound man body. He could just toss you around, grab you, hold you, make it so you couldn't do anything. And so like that, just like I remember the first time I played against him, I was playing in I was playing for West Sydney and I was playing in Auckland. I got a rebound and I used to just I was always in shape. So I would just run the court, get the rebound outlet and just outrun the guy guarding me and get layups. And my goal
Yep.
was like if I can get 10 points a game off offensive rebounds and 10 points a game just off running the court. You don't have to run me any plays. I'm just out here hooping.
Yeah. Doing
So
it.
I remember opening possession, boom, get the offensive rebound, outlet. By the time I get to about the free throw line, I'm at a dead sprint. Pero just glances over his shoulder at me and just sticks out his elbow like, but, and I just go from dead sprint to just, it was like running into like actual like a cast iron statue that was welded to the floor. I just went, "Whoa," and it was just like, what is that? I just had no idea that humans came like that. And I mean, I
Yeah.
played, with Carlos Boozer, who was another level, but Pero was not only superhumanly strong, like superhuman beyond any level that I thought possible, but he knew how to use it and he knew
Hmm.
it mean. Like he used it mean and ruthless. Like he was out there trying to hurt you. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of what Sledge became, right? Like he's sort of that, like he's the alpha dog. Who's the baddest dude in the room, in any room? That's what I wanted Sledge to be, the ultimate anti-hero. So
Well,
it's
we
been
took.
fun kind of creating this like character and ethos and universe.
Well,
It's just
you talked about the Avengers. Like Pero was Thanos. Like he was so powerful that like I remember the same thing. I remember, and I think it was my first experience because Pero was out of
he
the
didn't play the
NBL when
whole
I got
year,
there.
or remember when it was like early in the season, he either didn't play or like when it's the middle of the season and he just doesn't give a shit because he's been
Yeah,
playing overseas. He's just at the top of the key, and you're like, oh, he's just like a big dude. He can shoot a little bit,
yeah.
not a big deal. Then he turned it on in the finals, didn't he?
Oh yeah, that was ridiculous. Like playing against him, like you talked about that strength. It's like even on the post. I remember the cool thing of what we used to do. We used to go to the weight room all the time, and I was learning so much from you and Gav because like it was the first time in my life where I was like, we have to figure out a way to like disable what they're trying to do. So like I remember we talked about Pero's hamstring was so strong. So we were sitting there like, how can we get this like doing Turkish get-ups and stuff, like all these little things that were like, how can we counteract his strength? And a lot of it, I think, was for that final to be like, we're gonna play it like a superhuman human being. What are we gonna we're two guys who kind of play similar. What are we gonna do? How are we gonna combat it? I remember those times in the gym because I remember I didn't even know how to do a fucking pull-up. And then you and Gavin were now I do pull-ups like all the time. I'm like, it's crazy how much you learn. And that was kind of towards like the end of my career, how much I learned from you guys and how much that really affected how I went about my game because he was Thanos. Like you had to figure out how we were going to stop Thanos. And we had two Hulks. I mean, like a Thor. I don't know what we would call each other, but like we are big dudes and we got every rebound. He just like kept us off the glass. Like he could legit
Yeah,
hold us both.
he was so smart and he knew what you wanted to do. So it's like, okay, I know that KL wants to go set the pick and roll in this play. I'm just gonna not let him move. He's just gonna stay right here. Or like he wants to run that way, I'm just gonna push him that way. And pretty soon you're just like stuck and the coach is yelling at you and the whole play's thrown up. And no one knows he did it because he was so strong. He'd just grab you up close and you had to like just avoid him. You just
Yes.
couldn't get within. So that's Sledge's deal, right? If you're in arm's reach, it's already over. You just, so that's from. But you're so
The-
right, man. That was I think that's the thing I miss most about playing, but I've
yeah.
added it to my writing is the continual learning process.
Yeah.
There was, you could never conquer the game. There was always something to learn. And you're exactly right. I learned the most actually after we played. I took a
Yeah.
year off and I was gonna quit. I was like, you know what? I'm burnt out. My body's jacked. I was doing the, play Australia, then play New Zealand League, then
Yes.
play for New Zealand, then literally straight back into training camp for Australia. I did this for like 3 years, and my body was just like, bruh, nah, like
It's
you're not doing this shit anymore. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So
Well,
and really it was mentally. I just had a year where I was just burnt out. And so I quit. And when I came back to the game after that, like I took, one Australia season off and played that next year in New Zealand. And when I came back for that season, I was coming back because I wanted to. And to be honest, you actually had one of the quotes that was my biggest inspiration. You were like, we remember we were talking, we were like, I picked the wrong player to emulate growing up, right? So, like when I was a kid, I was like, I'm gonna be Patrick Ewing.
yeah.
And well, I wasn't gonna be Patrick Ewing. I wasn't gonna be a 7'1" black dude, right? It
Yeah.
was like for long arms, just like in the lane swatting shots. I was
Uh-huh.
gonna be Bill Laimbeer.
Yeah.
So if I would have picked Bill Laimbeer early, but that's what I did when I came back. I took that 9 months off, and when I came back, I was like, to go back to the Avengers analogy, I was like, you know what? I don't want to be the finesse shooter anymore. I want to be the Hulk. So I'm gonna just get the ball back for our team. I'm just
Uh-huh.
gonna get down in the paint, and I'm gonna get all of our shooters open, set the meanest screens, and I'm just gonna rebound, set screens, be vocal on D, and be the tough guy out there. And within like one season, I'd completely transformed my game and how valuable I was to a team. And I was MVP of the league the next year. Like I was an old guy. I was like now mid late 30s, and suddenly coming into my own as like the guy. Like it took, I don't know how long I've been playing basketball, since I was 8. It
Yeah.
took me 20 something years to figure out of how I could affect the game in my own unique way on any court. And that's when I became good. So that, like, I missed that part of it. I was like, you're always learning, always adapting.
We used to watch Kevin McHale videos. I remember you and
Yes. Footwork.
I always look back and I'm like, I guess YouTube was a thing because we weren't like, I don't know what we would watch it on. This is 2000, what, 8? So I know that it was a thing, like, but I remember watching those videos. But you're right, like anything else in life, you don't know until you've like experienced it, until you're like, I always say mid 30s is when you actually start figuring it out. Like you figure out what you want in your life and you have the strength and the audacity to be like, I'm going to get this. Like I'm not sitting there messing around in something I'm not happy with.
And you're
And
confident in yourself, like, fuck it, I'm going
exactly.
to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I think what you're talking about. It's like so cool because I think if I stepped back and walked away, because I was the same boat, I was like, my knees are hurting, everything's hurting. But now I think back and I'm like, man, if I could have just almost walked away. But like people don't talk about that much with the Olympics and all of these different things, how much these athletes are playing. And it's just year after
Dude,
year in a row, it's just too much.
I don't know how it's possible. Like, if you look at LeBron, I honestly don't know how it is physically possible. Like, he is a completely different breed of human being.
Yep.
He is the most in shape, fastest, strongest, most explosive, dominant physical athlete still at 40 amongst all these monsters. And he's playing 100 games a year, going to the Olympics. He's the guy. He's not just going to the Olympics. Like when Bird and Magic went to the Olympics,
Yeah.
the dream team, like Bird was basically like you had to roll him out there in a wheelchair, get him up there, you throw a couple passes, pull his ass. LeBron's not just out there; he's the MVP of the whole Olympics. Like
Uh-huh.
this is on something. Like I'm writing one of these Sledge books about like what all kind of shit these dudes could be on now. Because
Yeah.
man, there's some. Can you imagine like when they get to a stage where like they can make your body regrow its own cartilage, or like
Yeah.
regrow it in the lab and just insert that into your knee, or like give you whole new joints and stuff? Pretty soon, man, people are gonna be playing until they're 60.
it's crazy, and I look at it too. I mean, they that was one of the options. They're like, we have this regenerative stuff. It's like super state of the art. It goes in your knee. Would you be interested? And they're like, each session is like 25 grand, and I'm like, what the fuck? I was like,
If
how
you're
many
LeBron,
sessions?
you're like, yo,
Exactly, yeah. For
let me
like
get six.
a retired overseas guy, I'm like, you need wait, so I'm spending $250,000 on my knee. I'll just get the surgery. Like I don't
I'll
I'm
just
not trying
hobble
to
around, brother.
exactly. I'll
Yeah.
be good. I'll be good. Don't worry about it. I can still golf, so whatever. And I don't even golf. I don't even know why I said that. It's fucking
There's
stupid.
well, but I mean, LeBron's doing something because his hairline is getting lower,
Yeah,
bro.
it is
His shit
getting
is coming
lower.
back. He's
He's
like getting
fucking
younger. He's found it, man. But what a
Benjamin
legend. He
Button.
and JJ, my former teammate, is
Oh yeah.
carrying this dude right now. What a
That's
trip.
That and talking about that, like we can get into the JJ Redick stories because Duke basketball, it's like a complete world of its own. Like
Oh man,
everyone knows what it is.
yeah, it's like it is, dude. It's a brotherhood, but it's its own complete microcosm, its own universe.
It really is. And like that, what was one of the most intense or like memorable moments you had from Duke
Oh
University?
man. So this one, I told a lot of people this story, and then no one believed me because it sounded so outlandish. But then it happened again and it got slipped to the media. And when it happened again, like I think Coach K, this was Coach K, before he retired, of course, I think he used to bring it out sort of once every 5 years because he couldn't bring it out with the same group twice. So he had to wait till no one was on the team that the last time he did it. So I'm sure he'd done it before us, but it seemed new as hell to us. So we were down in Tallahassee. We played Florida State, and Florida State was good that year, but they were new to the ACC. It was maybe only their first or second year in the ACC, and they had been bad, but they had a couple dudes. I'm blanking on who, but they had a couple dudes that went to the league and they were good. And we went down. We had a close game in Tallahassee, and we lost to Florida State for the first time in Duke history. Not good. So at Duke's, we flew private NBA jets. Like I thought this was normal. So
Yeah.
when I didn't know any different. I was like, oh, we're D1. We fly on the Charlotte Hornets jet like everyone else does. Nah, but so we leave the game. We leave Tallahassee. We drive to the tarmac, get on the plane, fly back to Durham, which is not a long flight, maybe an hour or something. Get to Durham. It's probably like 1 a.m. Take the team bus from the private airstrip straight back to Cameron. Coach K goes, get in the locker room. We're like, oh shit. So we get off the bus, go into the locker room. So Duke locker room, now it's even more out of control. But even back then, man, I mean, this is like an NBA level locker room. Like we got the whole room, big screen TVs, couches, pictures of Duke players, gear everywhere, super nice. Everything's mint. We got our beautiful wooden lockers with all our gear. Everything's adorned with Duke blue everywhere. We walk into the locker room, everything is gone. All the couches, all the TVs, everything that has the word Duke on it, our chairs, all of our clothes, all of our shit has been taken out and just thrown into a giant pile. And in front of our lockers, no chairs, are our shoes and just a pair of black shorts. And that's it. So, so he's like, get your shit on, get out to the court. So we go out and we practice at 1 a.m. in just black shorts and shoes, nothing else, skins. All our shit's gone. And the lesson is, you're not good enough to play with Duke on your back. You're not good enough to play in front of like all the pictures were like, we had Christian Laettner and Elton Brand photos everywhere. We weren't good enough to play in front of them. All the pictures were gone. We're not good enough for chairs. You sit on the floor. So the next week we played Georgia Tech, I think. And every day we had these like hell practices, and if we went hard enough, we could earn back like one thing. So the first day we had like socks. And we're sitting there on the floor. Coach K wheels in the old like reel to reel projector and projects the video that we're watching on the wall. And we're like sitting on the floor, like, we could better go out there and practice, get this shit back. So we spent the whole week just earning back like a chair, some
That's
couch, all our stuff. By the time we played Georgia Tech next week, honestly, it wasn't even basketball. It was like we were out there like a pack of wild dogs that hadn't eaten in a month. Like that we'd won by like 1,000, but it wasn't even basketball. We were just like just diving for loose balls, eating people for the ball, and just going hard as hell. It was wild. So I told everyone this story. They're like, no way. But then again, it happened. I can't remember what crew it was. It might have even been John Shire's crew that year, like when they won it with Zubats or something. I don't know. It was one of these years, or maybe Jason Tatum, one of these years where it made it into the media. Like, we came back to the locker room, there was nothing in there. I got so many texts like, you weren't even lying. I was like, I told you, man. Dude was
that's
wild.
that is a great story, and it really does. Like Brian Zubek, I worked out with him. I trained with him when he was in, early, and when he was in college, I was playing pro. So I like heard a few Coach K stories because it's the same thing you preach now, but like the way college is going, it's like you can't do that same shit right now because they're like, I'm gonna
Yeah. And I
transfer.
think that's good, to be honest. Like the thing about the old way is the
Yeah,
coaches had
all
all
the
the power
power. Yep,
because they controlled your dream. So you had a
yep.
bunch of kids whose dream is to play maybe the NBA, and the only way they're going to make the NBA is if they get minutes and they get shots. And who controls the minutes and shots? The coach. So they can basically tangle your dream in front of you and snatch it away and just and make you do whatever. And
Hmm.
it might not be the right place for you. Like, if I'm in all honesty, Duke wasn't the place I should have gone for the development of my personal game, right? Like,
Hmm.
I'm there with Carlos Boozer and Shane Battier. So Coach K is looking down the bench like, I could hoop. I was a good hooper. I wasn't like Carlos Boozer, day one of like we came in together freshman year. He'd never lifted a weight before. We went into the weight room to like do our bench press max. He put like 3 plates on each side of the bar, close grip, grabbed it, and was like repping it out, looking at Will, our weights coach, like, am I doing this right? We're all just staring at him like, what is that thing? Like, what do you mean? He was just like a different kind of human. Like, I should have gone to Monmouth or something, somewhere
Yeah.
where I needed to develop. And like, I got there in the end, but, and I learned a shitload at Duke about the game of basketball, how it's played. But as a individual developing, like, you develop by playing in the games. And I just never
Yes.
worked my way in. I was always, playing behind a future NBA lottery pick. Um, you know what I mean? So like now, like, but I remember it was like the shame of transferring back then. Like, you're gonna give
Yeah.
you, oh, you're gonna transfer away from Duke. Like, it was shameful to think that you would go do that. You know what I mean? Whereas now the players, it's almost shifted too far the other way, where the players have all the power, but I'm all for it for a little while. But this
Yeah.
NIL thing is wild because I
Yeah.
have a bunch of high school kids. So the National High School Tournament here in New Zealand is always here in town. So all my old buddies who were played against are now all the coaches, and they all come back, and a lot of their players. You remember Phil Jones, the
Yes.
shooter from
Yep.
Nelson? His son's going to Wisconsin.
Oh, that's
And
great.
Kirk Penny, you remember Kirk? Kirk is now
Yes.
an assistant at Wisconsin. So I was talking a lot about Phil. Like, so nowadays, imagine this, dude. So now, as a freshman, you might be making 100, 200 grand just
Yeah.
cash,
Uh-huh.
baseline cash. And so you can go to four years of college and come out with $1 million just in the
Yeah.
bank.
Which
That's great. Like, imagine that. Imagine when your first year, like my
yep.
first year at West Sydney, I was playing for like 30 grand and a bag of chips and
Yep.
stoked, right?
Yes.
Had no money. I played 5 years at Duke for nothing. Like, not for
Yeah.
nothing, but I learned a lot, but I hadn't earned anything and I hadn't earned a lot of playing time. So I had to basically start from scratch and work my way up in pro leagues, where it's really cool now that these kids are they're basically pro 4 years earlier now, which
Which
I think is good because let's be honest, NCAA is a pro league. They make money
correct.
off you as a player. You should get paid. You're the product.
Yes. 100%, which is like the thing I like about NIL. I think there's like so much craziness with it, and you're gonna get like the scumbags who are gonna come in here and try to cipher money from kids.
100%.
But like when it's working well and it's working how it should, it is really is. And like you hear the coaches talk about, like, I'm gonna treat you like a pro now. But like not for nothing, but you treated me like a pro when I was here before. Like when we were there, like I was treated like a pro. Like you had to be here or your scholarship is in jeopardy. And like I didn't have much growing up. So like when like you said, I went to the G League first or the D League, and it's like 12 grand to me was
That's
like
big money.
amazing.
Like you're getting
Yeah.
paid to play? Dude,
Yeah.
I remember my first check. Oh man. It was like, oh, I get paid to do the thing I've been doing my whole life. Shit, why
Ex-
did I not do this earlier? I've
exactly.
been doing this for free all the time. What the
The whole entire time. And I love that aspect of like having the kids now starting to understand that not only, and I think we talk about high school and like what you learn in high school and what you're learning in college. We learned like our own path. And I always think about like what you're talking about with Duke. I always think about like, what if I went to the USC or, like the school that recruited me that was big time but I'm like, I would have just ended up probably playing behind someone because I was so in need of development that working my way through Monmouth, I didn't even get good. I was good at Monmouth, but like I wasn't where I until I started playing pro. Like I feel like I got better in the G League because I was playing against such good competition, but at the same time I developed as a young player in college. So like there's always that side. You're like, I don't know what's going to be the best path for me. But like you said, giving someone at 17 years old, I don't know shit at 17, but saying this decision you make at 17 is going to completely, it's the path that you're going to take, and this path is going to take you onto this life. There's 7,000 different paths. We're all getting recruited heavily. What path am I going to choose that's going to give me a completely different life than any of these? I just think it's crazy at 17 to give that decision and then
to
just be
make
like,
that decision? Yeah. I
exactly.
mean, it's sad. Like I try to give kids advice because um, I you're exactly right. You want to find the place that's gonna develop you as a player. And you you all have different paths. Like how I was as a freshman, I was not. I needed a different set of developmental rules than Carlos Boozer did. But when you're thrown into the same train, the train's moving, right? So it's like, but I didn't know that. You're exactly right. I didn't know that. When Coach K says we want you to come to Duke, I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
sounds good.
I'm like, hell yeah. Like you just say yes, but I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Like hindsight's 2020. And I'm not saying I regret going to Duke. You learn so much and becoming part of this brotherhood and like knowing the guys that I know and have playing with the guys that I played with. It's like
Yeah,
Mike Dunleavy's GM of the Warriors, right? Like this is wild. Like I'm still in touch with all these guys just on Messenger and stuff. It's like so cool to know this level of dude.
I
Um,
totally, yeah.
for my basketball development, I should have gone to somewhere where they needed Nick Horvath to be good for them to win. Duke didn't
Yeah.
need me to win. You know what I mean?
So, Nick, going back to our process of writing, um, we talk about like the transition from being a player to a writer. What was tougher, sticking to like that workout schedule and routine, or sticking to that writing routine where you had to get all your, ideas down?
I find sticking to the routine part, that's just what I do, right? I've always been you know what I mean? You know what it was. I was always bringing out the medicine ball and getting in my extra grind after practice every day. Where I write in a variety of places, but I actually write in my workout garage room. So I have this
That's
badass
great.
dungeon that's got like all my tools on the over the workbench, and it's got my squat rack and my pull-up bar. And I write, and then while I'm writing, I get my workout in. So I'm kind of getting two birds with one stone.
I like that.
And that's that, like working my physical body helps my writing. But I find writing, it's just really hard, man. So like the thing that gets me is there's an infinite number of ways to write any one sentence. And I have a very like I'm trying to create a universe and a character, right? Like I'm trying to create like a graphic novel reality. If you think of like Batman has his own universe, where there's its own set of rules in the Batman universe. Well, I'm trying to do that with Sledge, right? He's this badass mother, and there's all these dudes that are in the underworld, but it's all based in like this graphic novel reality that takes place in normal northern Minnesota. There's not, it's always winter, always dark, everyone's
Uh-huh.
ruthless. But it's an infinite number of ways that you can try to get that across. So finding the right words, just getting into the flow of it so that when you read it, I've picked the right one or two details so your mind fills in everything else. Like I'm really big on that's just how I try to write. Lean, strong, tough prose where it's like, the Hemingway description is that, the majesty of the iceberg is only 1/8 is above water. So the words are only one little part of it. But if you can evoke the right vibe, that when you pick up the book, you know, you fill in all the rest. So for Sledge, when someone looks at him and their eyes go wide with recognition and they just start shitting themselves, that tells you all you need to know, that one little detail. So like getting into that though, like it never comes easy. It's not something that I find super easy. Like I'm not super prolific. I can't sit down and be like, oh yeah, I wrote 15,000 words today or something. Like, no,
Yeah.
I'm just out here like like hammering the brick wall with my sledgehammer, carving out my space, carving out my words. Um, but I've really tried to get into loving that grind. Like that was the best part about playing. I don't know, for me is that waking up every day with a clear mission, right? Like I know what I want to work on today. I want to catch on the elbow, work on my inside pivot jumper. I want to get in the gym, work on my core strength, get my ankle back. Like you had a
Hmm.
very clear, and your mission with your brothers was the same. We're trying to win this championship. Well, I look at writing a novel the same way. The novel is the championship, the finished product, but if that's all you're looking at, you're not going to get it. You have to embrace the day-to-day grind of it and enjoy that part. That has to be the goal, is
Yes.
getting your time in the gym every day, getting your time behind the keyboard every day. So that's just what I focus on now.
Well, I like the idea that you're writing it in like this almost dungeon, like your weight room, but like I love the labyrinth. Like it's just cool. Like I like the what you did when you told this whole entire story of like, okay, these guys are each going to be ranked, and there's like a ranking system of all of these badass dudes, and you have to go through and just try to figure out what in the world is going on. It's a cool idea. It's also I love it because it's dark. Like
It's
what kind of
brutal and
it's
dark, man. That's
so
what Sledge
dark.
is. He's like an amalgamation. He's like Reacher, but darker, and he's like Jason. Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? He's like
Uh-huh.
the hero is the killer. He's a ruthless, bad motherfucker. Um,
It's I watched Halloween 2 the other day. Like the newer
awesome.
one, I hadn't
Oh,
seen
the
it.
new, yeah, the Rob Zombie one. That's kind of like a
Yeah.
Birdie kind of film.
It is because it's like you have this ghostly on the horse figure, and I think that's like it's like you have this. I talked to my wife about it. I was like, "There's like this humanization of Michael Myers in this movie. Like they're showing that like his human side, but then he's going to cut someone's head off with a piece of glass. But they're going to show that he has these deeper level thoughts that don't exist. And I like what you kind of described, like that Jason Voorhees. Like this is a really smart guy. He's done so much with his life, but he's dark. Like he's got a lot. Like when
Well, he
you
was forced to kill his friends, right? He was forced to
yeah.
kill his dudes and so like the human part of him kind of died in the pit, and now what's left is like this almost inhuman killing machine. But
Yeah.
he's a good dude. He's just trying to, deep down, he's just trying to drink beer and hang out. But people keep coming trying to kill him, man. The
What?
labyrinth itself is actually based on a real thing. My buddy Peter Mills works for sort of like Homeland Security FBI, and he was doing all kinds of research on the dark web of like real stuff. And so I got a couple like
That's
snapshots of real dark web sites that were sort of these mostly scams, but freaky kind of like kill for hire, hurt for hire dark websites. So I just ran with that. And I'm just like you, man. I'm a sucker for levels, leveling up, upgrading, who's the baddest dude. So all the Sledge books are gonna have levels. So the one I'm writing now, Sledge versus the Wendigo gang controls the unguarded border between U.S. and Canada and northern Minnesota,
okay.
which is a real place called the Boundary Waters. It's 2 million square acres of just wilderness. But of course, in the Sledge verse, it just appears to be wilderness. And when you get in there, there's some gnarly whole world in there run by this like badass sort of gang militia called the Wendigo, and they're based on the predators of the forest. So if you're
Wow.
ranked on the lowest predator level, you're a spider, right? You're on the very
Yeah.
bottom food chain, but you're still a bad dude. And then above that, you can be in the rodent level, and each level has like different skills and different like gnarly blood contests to achieve that level. And it's like a predator's in a forest. Like the only way up is to kill, and if you can't you kill or be killed, eat or be eaten. And so Sledge is now in there just doing Sledge stuff. So that's the world I'm living in at the moment, writing. It's fun.
I I love that. And I love how you talked about Peter like using some of that because that's what I that was a question I wanted to know. Like what kind of research went in within the realm of, we're not trying to get arrested. What kind of what kind of research went into creating this world? Now I like looked at that Minnesota. I watched True Detective, and as I was reading it, like the newest True Detective, and as I was reading it, I was envisioning that super cold atmosphere because even like the one scene, and I'm not going to spoil, but like where he takes the guy and takes his clothes up and makes him out in the cold, and he's like
Yeah, they put
he's
his
either
feet in the buckets.
yeah, he's either gonna die or he's gonna tell me, like what. And it's just like all I was thinking was like, man, that has to be like I could feel that cold. It was so descriptive, and it was kind of the same with True Detective. Like that's what it reminded me of. I had this dark, cold environment where like you feel like you're kind of like it's just creepy at all times. And you did a great job of kind of setting that scene. But like what kind of other
Yeah,
research
thanks,
went into
man.
creating this role? Like it was awesome.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to do with it, my favorite books growing up were the Conan books. They were fantasy, but like Howard, the author, he took real places and then made them sort of his fantastical version, but he had like the whole world globe. So what I'm trying to do is take this real geographical place but make it sort of my graphic novel reality of the place. So in the labyrinth, a lot of those places are real. Like that Standard Rock Lighthouse, you should Google that place. There's an underground mountain in the middle of Lake Superior. So you're not in sight of land, but there's a mountain that's right underneath the water. So they had to put a lighthouse on this thing back in the day because ships would just come in and just nail themselves on this underwater mountain. So there's a lighthouse in the middle of Lake Superior, but Lake Superior is a gnarly, gnarly lake. It doesn't freeze over, but it's below freezing. So
Yeah.
the water that sprays up into the air during these winter storms freezes, and if you were manning that lighthouse, you got encased, entombed in ice. Like this is a real place that still exists, and it gets entombed in ice. So if you were out there for like, January and February, you were literally entombed in this lighthouse with no possible route of escape. So it would have
That's
been a gnarly place to live. So the second I just found that that was a real place, I was like, well, the final battle of the labyrinth has to happen here. Like, of course. Right. So I'm like trying to just find cool ass places like that that exist in reality and make them my own for the Sledgeverse. And like all the GPS coordinates in the book, if you put them into GPS on Google Earth, they'll show you the place.
oh, that's
So
so cool.
like little Easter eggs and stuff like that in there.
Oh, I gotta try. I gotta piece back through and then do that because that's like I like stuff like that. I like where you can take that whole entire experience that you built and make it a universe. Like you've created a universe where people are going to want to know and they're going to want it. They're familiar with the universe, obviously. But when they read the second book, they're going to know that place already. They're going to
Exactly.
know
And
that
recurring
character.
characters. That's what I love about a great series. Like I love the Reacher series. I love Robert B. Parker wrote this series called Spencer. And he's like a tough, wisecracking private investigator, huge influence on my writing style. Um, but it's like, going back to hang out with your old friends. You're gonna get
Yeah.
Spencer and his buddy Hawk, and he's with his girl Susan, and then like the Lieutenant Quirk, and all your favorite old characters are gonna come back in different places and different things. So like right away at the beginning of the Wendigo, there's some new characters, there's some old characters, and the new ones come in, and I'm just trying to slowly build this just like the Batman universe or the Sin City universe. I'm trying to build the Sledgeverse, man, and it's really been fun. And the reception, dude, it's been exactly 1 year. So like Sledge came out on Halloween. So I've just been sort of reflecting on how far it's come in a year. I mean, a year ago, all of this was just in my head and no one in the world knew about it. And now there's literally hundreds of like Sledge fans out there. There's people making Sledge art and like Sledge fan art and posting it online. And there's a guy who made like a wiki page where he like ranked, like labeled all of Sledge's powers and then like linked to the places in the book where you can like reference all of his different strengths. And
Wow.
like, there's just like people out there that are like, Sledge fans, dude. It's wild. It's just, I don't know these people. This is a trip. So like to go from that, like this thing that I'm just doing to myself to creating like my dream is actually happening. Like it's becoming like Sledge is slowly kind of growing into like something in the public consciousness. Like he's kind of this, and I love how he's indie, he's underground.
Yep.
He's like he's not like being pushed by like Simon and Schuster and like he's doing it the Sledge way, right? Like it's like the old VHS that you hit, the NC-17 unrated one that you had to like search out in the back shelves of the movie store or like mail order for. Sledge is like doing it underground. So it's been pretty fun, man. It's just been a trip.
I love that. Any chance we're going to see Sledge, John Wick style on the screen? Because, that's something that when you read it and if you have this universe and you're continuing it and this fan base is starting to grow, people are going to want to see it on the screen. Is that something that you've thought about of trying to figure out how you
Uh,
can, make this into something viewable?
Dude, it's of course the dream. I'm running a Kickstarter now for the audiobook. So the next level of like making it into, I want to make a badass audiobook. I love audio audiobooks. It gives you just a new, if you have a good narrator,
Yeah.
it gives you a different version. You know what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
it makes it that one level closer to reality, but you have to have someone that can really do it. And I
Yeah.
found this guy, Joshua Saxon, got to shout him out. He's just an incredible talent in terms of what he can do with his voice. Like he can do Sledge like this gravelly, deep, badass voice, but he can do all the dialects and all the accents. And so He's recording it now, but so I'm funding this Kickstarter fund. So everyone go hook me up. Um,
Yes.
uh, Funding this thing, and it's gonna be just so awesome. Like as he's recording it and he's finishing chapters, he's sending me a chapter at a time as he finishes them through this. And honestly, dude, it gives me chills. It's like everyone was like, you should do it yourself. I hate this. Everyone hates the sound of their own voice.
Yeah.
I want to be able to go to my book, Sledge, like a fan and relive it in this new way a second time. And so it's happening, dude, and it's such a trip. It's just
That's
so
so
cool. The
great.
audiobook is going to be just awesome, dude, and I'm super jacked on it. But as far as like a movie or TV show, no one knows this, but so more exclusive information. Um,
Yes.
but I got an email. Now, the chances of something coming over it are still infinitesimally small, but I got an email out of the blue from this dude, Jordan Moblo. And next to his name said NBC Universal on his email. And I clicked in and he was like, "Hey, are the film or TV rights for Sledge, are they available?" And I emailed back directly like, "Dude, fuck off. I know this is a scam."
Yeah, fucking liar.
Right? Like, come on. And he was like, "I promise you this is not a scam." And we had this back and forth. I was like, "What?" And he was like, "No, it's not." So I was like, he was like, "I want to read Sledge. I will prioritize and I will read it this weekend if the rights are available." I was like, "Read it."
Yeah.
So he read it and came back and was like, I think I think he was shocked by how dark it was. So I don't know if NBC Universal, like again, Sledge is ruthless. I think I need the guy like Damien Leone who's making those Terrifier movies. Like
Uh-huh.
it's to do Sledge properly. I think he's got to be done hardcore, right?
Yeah.
Not like done for the Saturday morning Netflix special or whatever, but he is being shopped. So right now he's in front of eyes, being shopped through the big studios or through Universal internally anyway. But whether anything comes of that, I think is probably pretty low possibility, but is out there, right? So I think the next step is getting maybe a literary agent to shop them around and
Hmm.
be like, "Yo, Universal was looking at this thing," and just slowly growing it. I look at it as like, it's the side hustle. Sledge is who I become when I enter the weight room. My thing I do in my for he's my joy, my love of creating this universe, and I'm just slowly trying to spread that love. And there's some diehard Sledge fans out there, right? Like he's a throwback. If you like 80s Arnold action movies, 80s gory horror movies, comic books, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Conan, Reacher, uh, he's the dude for you, he's his own sort of thing that I've kind of created. I'm just couldn't be more stoked on it.
I love it. It's just an incredible thing. Our fans need to get out. I'm going to put all the things. I'm going to put your Kickstarter, all of that on when we release this. But last question, you talked about having you took a year or took some time away from the game. And what advice would you give to like an athlete who might feel boxed in by their careers, but wants to break into something new, wants to get into writing, wants to get into something, but like you were able to come back and do it, but like maintain that next level of dreaming. You wanted to just walk away and come back. So what advice would you give to those players who are feeling boxed in with their current career?
Yeah, I think yeah, you got to do it. You got to find the love for it. You got to do it because you want to do it, not because you feel like you have to do it. And if you're getting to that stage in anything where you feel anything can become drudgery. You know what I mean? Everyone looks at being a pro athlete as that's the ultimate all-time dream, greatest job ever. I know a lot of pro athletes that got to a point where they were genuinely hating every day. If you're at that point, you need to do something different. That doesn't mean you need to quit. That means you need a frame shift. So whether that's just taking the time off, just taking a season off, just going out there and saying, I need a mental health recovery. I'm going to just go get a normal job for 6 months and just see what that is like. Um, that was the best thing I ever did for my career was actually step away. And by the time I came back because I wanted to, and I came back in the way that I wanted to, and that's made all the difference. And in terms of my writing, like, yes, the dream is to write where Sledge is making so much money that I don't have to go to a day job. But to be honest, I'm not sure I want that because the second you get to that stage where it's the only thing you got and it's the thing that's putting the bread on the table, there is a whole ton of pressure and a whole ton of can become drudgery. And I never want this thing that I do for joy, this thing that I like, if I'm not enjoying it and the joy's not spilling out into the book, no one's going to want to read it because it's not going to be there. It's going to be pulling teeth. And
Yeah.
so I'm actually real careful of keeping it as that. And so I think, that's a really hard thing to do when, playing is putting your bread on the table. I just think having the internal strength to know, hey, you know what? If I just need to chill out and not play for 6 months and do something out, I'm going to be okay. And in the long run, that's going to be the best thing for my career. Honestly, if I could have done that freshman year at Duke, been like, you know what? This is not what I want to do. Quit, transferred, taken a year then, found the right college, and then made that decision when I was eight, had the strength, the
Hmm.
internal and mental strength to do that when I was 18, 19, 20 years old, as opposed to having to wait till I was 30
Yeah.
to have the the mental fortitude to know that I was going to be okay. I would have been a way better. My career would have gone even better.
Well, you have
So
your mentality is so it's you talked about how there's things that I said or we talked about that inspired you. The truth is, like, there's so many things that you inspired me on with just like your like seeing your work ethic, seeing how what taking your mentality of being able to give everything you have. Like this is the time we're gonna bust our ass and we're gonna work. And when practice is over, guess what? We're not leaving. We're continuing that shit. But when it's done, we're gonna have a good time. Like that, I feel like you have always had that good way about you, where like you were able to balance everything in your life and create that balance. And even still, you're talking about that balance of not letting your hobby become your full time because it will take away from that. So your ability to maintain that balance has always been something that I've taken, and now it's what I do with my life. I try to be as balanced as possible, like not too crazy about one thing, not too crazy about, but just maintain that balance between my family, my kids, everything. It's just you need that balance. And I think that was one of the lessons that I took from you of like bust your ass, you give it your all. But when you're outside of there, enjoy life. Like, and you go to a fucking Kiss concert. Remember, we tried to sell. This is a great story. We tried to sell those Kiss. We got Kiss tickets. I don't even know. Did Nick Mills give those to us?
I can't even remember how we got those things.
We just
Yeah.
you and I wound up with like four tickets to Kiss, who were playing right in the arena, and we were like, "Yeah, that would be fucking cool to go see Kiss." But then we were walking through, and like people were like, "We'll offer you this," and we're like, "Oh shit!" Like, okay. So it's
Okay.
just like there's those fun little moments that we just like you live your life and you just enjoy life and you just go on adventures and who knows where it goes. That was something I took, and I felt like after I left New Zealand, I was more open to exploring. I feel like early you were kind of like trapped. I mean, I was in Cairns, which I was exploring, but like you were kind of like focused on the task at hand. You taught me to, okay, let's go fucking visit the seals and on the in Wellington. Let's like go out and explore. Like there's so much of this world to see. And I felt like that was something I did later in my career after that because I wanted that balance. I wanted those adventures. And I think you taught me to be adventurous as opposed to just kind of sitting around being like, okay, I'm going to play basketball today. And that I appreciate. So, yes, your whole story, but like you could see that into the book. Like you can see those adventures continue and where your mind goes. And it's just like, it's awesome, which is so much fun when we talk to each other outside of this, but you know, it's fun to face and stuff, and just and being able to catch up in a podcast form is amazing. So I appreciate your time and coming on today. It's been awesome.
Dude, it's been such an honor, you know. I always say it, but you know, this is getting a little airy fairy and a little, but there's a little physics in there, right? But so everything is made of atoms and atoms vibrate. And so we all have our own resonant vibration, a way that we are. And you know, when you meet those people that vibrate in the same way
Yep.
as you resonate with them, that doesn't matter if we haven't hung out for 10 years, man. The moment we get into a room together or on a podcast together, it's just like old times, man. And it's
Yeah.
always joy. And I think about you all the time. And just like you with me, man, there's things that lessons we've learned and things we've done through together. And like, I just can't wait to see what you do next and where we're going next, man. This is always fun. We got to do this again soon, man.
Absolutely. And we'll, you know, check the socials because that one time when we start, you know, when I'm down in New Zealand or you're back up in the States, we're getting together and we're gonna post some pictures, have some like have a drink and fucking toast and
Oh,
toast to the
hell yeah,
dead.
man. I cannot
Toast out of a
wait.
skull.
Skull.
Well, thank you, Nick Horvath, for coming on, sharing your story. Everyone, check out Sledge. It's amazing. It's a really great story. It's fun.
Ah.
We will talk to you soon. Nick Horvath, this has been the Overseas Famous Podcast. I'm Kevin Owens. We'll see you guys next time.